All right, hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back with another TagCast. I am your host, Scott, aka Zhang, on the boards. Once again, sorry for the little longer delay than usual between episodes, but life is what it is. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer to get these things scheduled and whatnot. But we're back, of course, and for this episode, I'm actually going to do we're going to do a character that I waited quite a while for T6, but a lot more players seem to be popping up for this guy, and that is Lei. And so we're going to figure out, hopefully, with our expert today, what's the deal and what's the scoop and why he seems to be a little bit more popular than he usually is. So with that, certainly no stranger to the podcast. I'm going to introduce my guest here, none other than the Exalted. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's good, man? Thanks for having me.
Not a problem at all. So we can kind of, skip the intro thing because you were, of course, on for the T6 version episode for Lei. So, I think everyone, for the most part, is familiar with you and knows who you are. And, of course, I would probably argue that you're the most well-known Lei enthusiast. There's quite a few, Lei players out there now, but you have been dedicated to him for a long, long time. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say that you're at the top of the list when it comes to experts for this character. So with that being said, usually I start out asking just about strengths and weaknesses of this character. But before we get to that, which of course we will, I do just want to ask a generalized question of kind of what's new to him in Tag 2, like what because we did the T6 episode was pretty lengthy. We discussed a lot of his move sets, and he's already got a gigantic move list as it is. So what sorts of things are new to him in Tag 2?
What's new? Well, you mentioned his popularity, and I think that has a lot to do, especially for players that's been playing for a while, is his damage. Lei does a lot of damage now. His combos do damage. His ground game does damage. So that was one of the things that a lot of people kind of shied away from Lei for because they felt he didn't do enough damage. His combos were weak. In this game in Tag, that's just not the case. He does just a stupid, almost a silly amount of damage at times. So that's one of the changes and probably something that's adding to his popularity. So that's a big change.
Gotcha. Now, is that something where just his damage overall has been increased, or is it just because of the tag factor where he can bring in his the second character?
Well, it's two things. They buffed the damage of a lot of his key moves. Razor Rush does more damage now. What else does more damage? I think his down forward 1 does more damage. He has a few moves that they did buff the damage for. Also, for his juggles, he has a new bound, which is back turn 4/4, and that's a really damaging bound for combos. So that also added to his damage. So it's just new move, and they did buff his damage. Namco did buff his damage.
Gotcha. Now, I'm guessing that he has some new stances. They always tend to mess with his stances a little bit from game to game. Is there anything like drastically different from the way, like anything like brand new, like an entire new set?
Yeah, there is. He has something called the 5 gates stance. It's just pressing 3+4, and when you press 3+4, he kind of like waves his hands around. And if you press 3+4, 1 through 4, it corresponds to another stance. So he can go into any stance just from the fly now. That's something new. The 5 gates thing is also a punch parry as well. So if you try to punch Lei while he's doing it, there's maybe like a 16 frame window after he starts it that if you punch him during that window, he gets a free launcher, free move of his choice in any stance that you go into. So that's pretty good as well.
Nice. Now, any new moves that we should be aware of, just like kind of from standing neutral position?
Any new? Well, he has back 2, which is a high crushing palm that if you go press forward, he goes into dragon, and he has down back one, which is a low move now that goes into a weird crouching stance that he has a low mid mix up. He also has a while standing launcher, which is a huge improvement. That's tag bufferable. So he has while standing 3+4. It's about 16 frames. It's tag bufferable. It does really good damage. So yeah, Lei was buffed considerably in this game.
Gotcha. So, like I said, usually we do kind of a strengths and weaknesses sort of breakdown for this character. Now, because he has these stances, and when we did the T6 episode, it was very much, I mean, that was a very long episode, and we did almost a near like move by move breakdown. So rather than, having you exhaust yourself and do that once again, instead, I kind of just want to, I do want to focus on the stances just for a minute, but I actually want to just kind of discuss the applicability. So rather than doing each move out of each stance and what his options are, just run us through each stance, but just kind of tell us what the application is for each stance. Like, why would you use it and when, and how often do you find yourself using it?
Lei is he's a very diverse, very customizable character. That's a good word. So how one person uses a stance may not be the same application that another player uses it. But I'll just go from my experience as as a competitive player and a Lei player. Lei has snake stance, which is really good as a defensive stance. You can go back. If you go left, you go into one stance. If you go right, you go into another. So it's really good as far as like defense. In Snake, he has a 11 frame move, which is Snake 1. Any one string is 11 frames. So it's really good for just keeping your opponent out. It's a really good defensive stance, in my opinion. That's how I use it. I use it, it gives me time to think. It gives me time to, set up my offense. So I use it defensively.
Gotcha. Now, real quick, before you go on, since he does have the new 5 gates thing, probably for those who are listening who are newer to Lei, probably just to help them out a little bit so they know exactly what stance we're talking about. For the snake stance, when you go into 5 gates, which one would that be? 2?
That would be just 5 gates regular. So 3+4 regularly,
okay.
He goes into snake.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yes. So that's his 5 gates. He goes into snake. If you get the punch parry, the best thing to do, I guess, would be the 2-2-2. Like I said, you get a guaranteed move in any stance once you get the punch parry from 5 gates. So 2-2-2 would be the best option after you get that parry.
Okay, excellent. Okay.
All right. Should I go into another stance or?
Yeah. Unless there was more about snake.
No, that's about it as far as like application. What you're saying.
Okay.
Yeah, that's about it. In my opinion, another player might say, "Hey, I do this," and I'll just laugh at them. But I'm saying no, that's not true. But Panther is that's 5 gates 2, and Panther is an offensive stance. He crouches, so no high can hit him during this stance. He has a 13 frame low, which is Panther 1, and he also has a Panther 1-2, which walls flat. So it's a very offensive orientated stance. As soon as you're in that stance, it's a mix up coming. So you have a mid that's also tag bufferable. One of his strongest launchers is an incredible launcher, only -10 on block. It's kind of silly at times. Panther is a purely offensive stance, and you can use it also defensively just because he can't get hit with highs while you're in that stance. So that's an application for that. Did I mention that's 5 gates 2? Yeah, I mentioned that.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
Let's see. Dragon is 5 gates 1, and Dragon is another. Well, you can use it either offensively or defensively because Lei's movement is so improved in Dragon stance. Going backwards, he kind of ducks, and going forward, he kind of has a crouch dash in a way while he's in Dragon. He also has a 10 frame kick that leads to a counter hit combo. which is really good. 4-1-2-3. So that's a really good option. He has a mid, which is Dragon 2, which gives you +4 in this game, which is another buff. I think it was +3 in other Tekkens. They made it +4 in this game, which is cool. So he has a mid that gives him +4. So yeah, you can use it defensively, but it's best when you use it offensively near the wall. You get a high damage wall splat if you can land a counter hit 4, which is a 10 frame kick. So that shouldn't be too hard. So yeah, it's a very offensive, defensive stance. It's kind of in the middle. It's very balanced stance.
It seems that little 4-hit string there seems kind of silly. Like if you manage to hit the counter hit, like well, I mean, without rage or anything like that, it's just 70 damage combo, but no, juggle involved, which I guess you could argue is a pretty big advantage because you don't have to worry about like any sort of
execution problems. Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah, that or like any sort of oh god, why am I blanking out on the word? When like percentages off the damage, why can't I think of what's that called? After hit doesn't do its full damage.
Right,
in a juggle.
Right.
God,
damage scaling.
Scaling. Yes, scaling. Yes. God, I don't know why I was forgetting that word, but yeah. So I mean, you don't have to worry about scaling or anything like that. And then rage. You're doing 90. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty. I don't know how many times I've definitely lost a match, and I said, why not? And I just aim for it. That's one of the good things about Lei. You can aim for something, and then I just win because that string landed. It's a 10-hit string. People forget, that, and yeah, it's a great move. Silly move at times. Yeah.
And then it wall splats too, correct?
And then it wall splats too.
God, that is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. Anyway, sorry, a little tangent there, but please continue.
Did I go? Oh, Tiger is the other stance, and Tiger is another. Tiger is interesting because I personally use Tiger defensively, just because everyone is familiar with Tiger.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably one of Lei's most familiar stances, just because it was very essential in other games. As far as he has a really fast low in it, Tiger. I'm drawing a blank here. Tiger 4, yeah, Tiger. I was about to say Tiger 3. Like I don't play Lei. But yeah, he has the low Tiger 3. It's a sweep. It's a juggling low, so it's really fast. I think it's like 17 frames, which is like 1 frame slower than a hell sweep. And so it's a pretty good low. But the great thing about Tiger is that it parries all mids and highs when you hold forward. That's not an elbow in me. So it'll parry. So I use it personally just for the defensive properties most of the time. Just because most of the time people are anticipating a low, or they'll try to jab you out of it, they'll try to do something. So I use it defensively. But it can be used offensively because of the great low, the great mids. It has Tiger 1, which is an interesting move because Tiger 1 gives +3 on hit and +3 on block, which is, I don't think there's another move in Tekken that does that. That's kind of stupid. But yeah, on hit and block, he gives +3, and it also juggles on counter hit. So that's a great mid. What else? He has Tiger 3. That's a wall splatting mid. So yeah, he has great stuff in Tiger. So I use it defensively, but it can be applied offensively as well.
Gotcha. And then just to double check, I'm sure that I'm looking at the right one, but that's 5 gates 3, right?
That is 5 gates 3. Yeah, 5 gates 3 is Tiger. So that's probably going to be a very useful. If you're going to use 5 gates, especially for Oki, you're going to want to either do Tiger or Panther as far as like Oki is concerned. It's really good for
that. All right.
And lastly, Crane, which is 5 gates 4. Crane is another purely offensive stance. It's not something that a lot of players use because you can't block highs. You can't block anything while you're in it. Lei will automatically juggle any low that is thrown at him. So if you throw a low poke, he's going to launch you in the air for it. but you can't block unless you cancel it. So it's an offensive stance. It's in this game. It's great because the crane dance, which is crane 3 4 2 3, is guaranteed for like wall combos in tag assault. So that's really good damage, especially if you delay it. It gets a little bit more. But yeah, so it's used for a purely offensive stance. Has a launching, low crushing mid. So yeah, it's an offensive stance. It's a range stance. So yeah, it's not used for defense primarily, but it's used for offense, and it's really good for that.
Gotcha. All right, and then that was the last stance that he has.
He has Drunken and he has Phoenix, but out of five gates, and out of like just very practical, useful stances, that's about it. Well, actually, all the stances are useful. Phoenix, Phoenix 2 is good. Phoenix 4 is good. It gives plus frames. It leaves you in Snake. Drunken, Drunken 2 back is good. Drunken back 1+2 is good. It's a juggling, spinning headbutt that juggles on regular hits. So yeah, that covers like all the stances.
Now, real quick, how do you get into Phoenix?
Phoenix is back 1-4. There's also move transitions that allow you to do it. You can look at the move list like a back 4 back, Phoenix, not Phoenix, Panther 3 back since you're in a Phoenix. But the manual way to do it is just back 1+4.
Okay. And then now, what about Drunken? How do you get into that?
Drunken is just forward 3+4. Forward 3+4 sends you in a Drunken. And he has he's always had it, but it's a larger window in this game. Drunken forward, as soon as you go into Drunken, the stumbling forward, if you punch Lei with any high move, he automatically parries and gets a free move in Drunken. So, yeah, that's cool. And it's a larger window in this game.
Gotcha. Now, up until this point, we've been talking, just to kind of simplify things for any newer players out there listening. I've been talking, or we've been discussing the stances as if you were just going to go right into them manually, and of course, 5 gates now allows you to get into all the other stances manually. Which definitely simplifies the whole process. But where Lei gets really muddy and complex, of course, and one thing that a lot of newer players struggle with, especially if they're trying to pick up this character, is moving in and out of them, and then trying to decide which you want to use and when. Now, a lot of the players that I notice that have been picking up Lei. I don't want to say they don't use the stances or anything like that, but for the most part, I actually see them shying away from them a little bit. Like usually it's a situation where they use a stance for one particular purpose, and then only when that situation arises will you see them go into the stance. But other than that, it's usually doing stuff like Razor Rush, or just now you mentioned his damage has been beefed, so just kind of playing a little bit of a neutral game, so to speak. Now,
Yeah.
Lei enthusiasts, of course, aren't going to do that. They're going to make use of all those stances, and I know you in particular, you like to try to find a use for everything that he has. So with that being said, like how do you approach all of these different options that he has? Like what helps you decide what to do and when?
One of the I teach Lei to individuals who want to learn or have questions. One of the things I always tell them that's really important when you're playing Lei and you want to use a stance-based game is remember that cats go right. That's something that I always put in my head before a tournament match. Some people here might see my lips actually moving. Basically, what that means is that when you're in any stance that's like a cat stance, panther, or tiger, if you go right, you'll go to snake. So I always know that. So if I've been tiger, I'll know that, okay, if I go right, I'll be in a snake. If I go left, I'll go in a dragon. And I keep that in my mind, and that works with every stance. So dragon, I know dragon isn't a cat. So dragons don't go right, they go left, they go in a snake. And that's what's always in my head when it comes to like knowing what stance leads to what and what leads to what. How that helps is that if you know the weak side of a character, like Mishima's weak side is left. So I know that, Mishimas are weak to their left. You go left, and a lot of their moves are whiff, their hell sweeps. I'll keep that in mind when I'm playing them, and I'll say, if I go into, say, you know, um, Tiger, for instance, and I know their weak side is left, I'll know that if I see them do a move and I go left, which is their weak side, I'm in Snake. I get a free 1-2-1. If they whiff a move, I'm in this predicament. I'm in this situation. So that's a good important thing when you're playing Lei to know what is a character's weak side, which way should you walk a step, and knowing when you're in a stance, if you go that direction, what's going to be the stance that you're going to end up in. That way, you're faster. You don't have to look at what you're doing and say, okay, I'm in Snake now. I got to do this. You know exactly when you go left what you're going to do, and it makes everything fluid, and it's really like disarming for your opponent.
Gotcha. Now, when you get that sort of thing started, are you? Oh, what's the best way to ask this question? Like, so you said, you kind of grouped, all those stances to one by saying cats. Now, which is it usually character dependent on which one you end up trying to use first, and then going left or right, or like
It's
how
not
does?
character dependent. It depends on the flow of the game, and it also depends on what I see. Razor Rush is a hub move. You can go into every stance. So if I see someone is weak against one stance, I would try to position myself to always be able to both be in that stance and also to get in that stance on command and have it be on their weak side. I hope that wasn't too confusing.
No, not
Uh,
at all.
yeah, so if I see like certain individuals I know have a really good defense versus, like I said, Tiger. Tiger is a very well known stance, so they
Mm,
have a really good defense versus it. So I wouldn't push Tiger against them because I know their defense against it is really good. They know that you use elbows and knees, that you low poke at a certain angle, it stops everything. So they know that. So I'll look for a stance that, say they're weak against Dragon, and I'll know, okay, so I'll go into, Snake, for instance. Snake, if you go left in Snake, you're in Dragon. So I'll say, okay, let me go into Snake, and the minute they come in and I know their weak side is left, per se, I'll go left. When they throw out a move, I'm in Dragon. I either get free damage or I get a mix up. I fluster them. It's in my favor.
gotcha. Now, now you said that like Razor Rush is like a hub move. So you kind of do that. Now, let's say you're at the very start of a match. You've never played this your opponent before ever. Let's say you go to a tournament. And
Right.
it's the first round, first match. You're at that neutral game. Are you looking to do something like Razor Rush or a string like that, and then just kind of test their knowledge on the different stances, or like do you usually play defensive and just kind of watch what they do?
Um, it, you know, mm, okay. In this game in tag, I believe that honestly, an offensive choice is always the best.
Mm,
Just because this is a very momentum based game. So if you give someone too much momentum in this game, they can kind of bulldoze through you. Just because the way the engine is built, you can get damaged, you can be tag assaulted to the end of the earth. So I think the option is always to go with what I call the oldies but goodies. So you go what's been effective for you in your tournament career kind of thing since you've been playing, and just do what you do best. And as they shoot down things, they shoot down your ducks. Okay, I can't send that duck back up, and you run out of birds. But yeah, just go straight at it. Fire everything, so to speak, and see what sticks.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense, especially in this game. Like you said, not only has this character gotten a damage buff, but just I mean, damage is so plentiful in this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think last episode I think I had GM on, and he mentioned something about this. I actually think maybe all of our guests have mentioned it that it's almost always wise to go for launchers. If even if you're a little uncertain about whether or not it's going to hit or not. I actually know Youngjae, who is the Korean player who was over here for a little bit, who was living in Indiana for school, I know that was his philosophy was, I'm gonna tag assault every time I do it. I'm just gonna sit there and I'm just gonna electric a lot.
Oh
that was
yeah,
that
I've
was
seen them. I know.
yeah. So
uh,
I know. I mean, that was his entire style of play. And I mean, granted, he had a team that it made a lot of sense to tag assault because they got a Heihachi Devilgen. It added quite a bit to his juggles. But I mean, that was his whole philosophy: is that you launch. And he's like, 2 juggles and you're dead. So I'm okay with
right.
it. I'm okay with giving you rage and forcing you or making you think about tagging out and all this other stuff. So,
That
very,
seems to
very
be
interesting.
a
Oh,
Korean mentality. That
mhm,
seems to be a very when I look at videos, the Koreans seem to do that all the time.
mhm,
They would rather get the damage and then kill your guy who's even Netsu, but they don't mind because they're going to kill him too.
yeah.
But yeah, they're going to get the damage. They don't really focus on tag buffering and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
And
just
it brings up an interesting point because in this game, like we just said, launchers are really good, damage is really good, and it's just in general it's really hard to play defense in this game. So with that being said, you've mentioned a few different times a few different stances and moves that have defensive properties, and just based on my observations, and I don't know if everyone will agree with this, but it seems like the characters that have extra defensive options in addition to just sidestepping, backdashing, and blocking, of course, tend to have a little bit easier of a time just because it seems like everyone knows it's kind of hard to play defense in this game. So I can kind of play an offensive oriented game and get away with it. Now, when you're playing Lei, do you find that it's a little easier to play defense because of that? Because he has
uh,
extra options?
well, yes and no. Um, the the one of the biggest issues I have when it comes to Tekken period is that once you know a lot about a character, you know why you need to fear it. So especially when you're a character player, I know why Lei is scary. If you play Kazuya, you're gonna know everyone knows why Kazuya or Mishimas are scary.
Mm,
But if someone doesn't know why a character is scary, it kind of uh, it changes the way they approach the character. So they can approach the character in a way that is ill-advised, but it can still kind of be disarming.
mm,
So, like I said, Lei can't get hit with lows in Crane, for instance. While he's in Crane, he can't get hit with lows. So a player who knows Lei will most likely not say, okay, let me hell sweep him when he's in Crane.
mm,
So while I'm canceling, saying, okay, he's not going to hell sweep me, they hell sweep me in Crane. That kind of gets in my head, like, why would he do that? That's crazy.
mm,
So the defensive options are good, especially when someone knows Lei,
mm.
but it can get you in trouble if they don't know Lei. I don't. It's kind of an interesting kind of catch-22. If
Gotcha.
you depend on the defense of Lei's stance, you can get in trouble because of some people just don't have the knowledge, and it can benefit them not having the knowledge.
Yeah,
Of
just that random factor.
that random fact. I don't like using the word random because I think it's overly used. No, it used to be like a special word, but I
Mhm,
think it's overly used. It's just, and I'm sure when I first started playing the game, a lot of moves I know, I'm not even sure I know. A lot of things I just didn't have like a knowledge of old school Tekken.
mhm.
So I would do things that players that played like, Tag 1, I played Tag 1, but I wasn't like competitive in it, said, why would he do that? And it worked just because I was ignorant to it.
Mhm.
So yeah, it kind of helps you sometimes when you're dealing with a character player when you don't know certain things. It kind of helps you. So I wouldn't depend too much on Lei's properties as far as his special defensive properties, but it can be useful against people that know the character, but it can get you in trouble if someone's ignorant to it.
Gotcha. So those defensive options, then, it sounds like when you start off a match, I guess against a player you're not overly familiar with, it sounds like you go on your offense first, see test the water, see what you think they know and what they don't know, and then based on that, after you get a little bit of I guess recon is probably a good way to put it. Once you get a little bit of knowledge on your opponent, then the defensive options may or may not come into effect.
Exactly. Sometimes you're pushed into like my back has been put to the wall, and I have to depend on it, and you don't have a choice. But I would rather not have my back to the wall and have to depend on the defense of a stance or defense of a character if I don't have to. I would rather not. It's not a comfortable position to be in this game.
Gotcha. Now let's go back to that neutral game a little bit and talk about that offense. Now you mentioned the only one that I can think of right now. You mentioned Razor Rush because it's it's kind of a hub for all of the stances. Not to mention it covers a lot of distance. It has a little bit of evasive properties to it. It's a kind of a goofy punch string. But in addition to Razor Rush, like what other options does he have to start that offense?
He has Razor Rush. He has Down 4, which is a 12 frame low that's like 0 on block. Or is it? It's either 0 or -1 now. I don't know. But yeah, he has Down 4. He has Beating Rush, which is my personal favorite move, which is 4 neutral 2 1 2. You have to whiff the first 2 to get Beating Rush. So that's another way to get in. He has, the 4 neutral 4 1 string, which is kind of Lei's. That's his down forward 1 per se. Lei has a down forward 1, but his down forward 1 leaves him at kind of mid negative. I think it's like -4, -5 on block. But 4 neutral 4 1 does the same thing that a down forward 1 does. It has good range. It's a high mid string, and it leaves him at -1 on block. So it's the same purpose as the down forward 1 that most characters like Lei have, like Lee and Law. So yeah, he has a few ways to get in. Lei has never had a problem in any game getting in. That's never an issue with Lei. Getting out maybe, but
yeah,
not getting in.
Well, he might have an issue getting out in newer games, but with the Razor Rush, or not the Razor Rush, the haha step, back in the day, he definitely
No,
had.
he still has it. He still has it. Yeah, that's an advanced thing. I find a lot of players can't really do a real haha step, but you really don't need it. You can use something called it used to be called like an empty step, which is basically back 3+4 down back. So yeah, I'm right. Yeah, he can get out too. What am I saying? Oh, character stupid.
All right. So okay. So it sounds like that's where you start your offense. You get in. Now once you get in, you get into these stances. And presuming you're going into an offensive stance or a stance that you plan on using offensively, is it? So you mentioned, I believe it was. Let me double check here. Tiger 1, the one that's +3 on hit and block. Now, most moves, don't have that kind of property. So does it? I don't want to say he's kind of stuck there, but once you're in and you pick a stance, does it just boil down to mid-low mix-up?
Well, it depends on who you're playing. If you're playing someone who knows the character, then you're going to have to think about what you're doing. You also have to think about what frames you're at, what the tools that the opponent has. So if I'm against, say, Marduk, and I'm in Tiger on Marduk, Marduk has a 13 frame knee. So anything that Lei does in Tiger, will get basically scruffed out if I'm in Marduk, and a Marduk player knows that. They'll know that, if I hold forward to get the parry, the knee is going to catch me. If I try to do Tiger 1, the knee is going to be faster. If I try to do Tiger 4, the knee is going to be. So it's basically a knowledge-based thing. So like I said, when you're playing, go all in and see what your opponent knows, and then you decide after that. On Oki, though, it becomes a pure 50-50. On Razor Rush on hit guarantees basically a mix-up for the corresponding stance that you're in with when the last punch hits. So yeah, it becomes a pure 50-50. One of the best things against Lei, I always tell people that need to know how to fight him, is don't duck. Ducking against Lei is generally against like a stance, especially Panther. Is generally a problem with every stance except Tiger. You probably should duck on Tiger, but all the rest, ducking is never a good idea.
Okay, now when you just 1 second here. Oh my god, I don't know why I'm so bad at hitting two buttons. So with Tiger, then does he have anything that because I know he has that sweep that Tiger 3 that goes into um, the juggle. Does he have
Tiger
it?
4 actually.
Or
That's
sorry,
Tiger
Tiger
4.
4. Yeah, sorry, my
Mm-hmm.
apologies. Does he have a mid that that can equal that damage from Tiger?
Well, he doesn't have. Not that'll get you a combo. No, he doesn't have a comboing mid anymore. Tiger 1 on counter hit gives a combo, and it's like 16 frames, so it's a really fast move, and it gives a combo. Tiger 3 gives a wall splat. So if opponent is back to the wall, and they have it in their mind that they're going to duck Tiger, you get basically a free wall splat with Tiger 3. So that's what he has, but in Tiger, like I said, the smart thing to do when you're in Tiger at open space is to pretty much duck. That's just the intelligent thing to do.
Gotcha. Now, the other stances, you just mentioned it's probably wise not to duck, with the exception of that one. Now, I know that doesn't really apply to his neutral game so much because I just off the top of my head, I know his down back 4 juggles.
Right.
I think it's just a range thing, right? If it hits clean or something.
Yeah, if it hits clean, the best thing if you went clean is just to sidestep right first and then do down back 4, and about 99% of the time it'll be clean.
Gotcha. Now I know that leads into a juggle. So in his neutral game, he has all these different ways to get in, and razor rush. All of those hits are mid. Now, does the same sort of logic apply then for him out in the open, where you probably don't want to duck, or is it
yeah, I would say it does. Lei has great mids, like ridiculously good. Razor Rush is really good. So he has great mids. He's also a pressure character, if you don't know, so he'll pressure you in a situation. So yeah, you never really want to duck on Lei. Down back 4 is seeable. It's not very, very seeable, but I've had argued with Fab quite a few times, and he says he can see it, and he does block it. I would say a good 8 out of 10 times. So maybe he is seeing it. And I can block, if I'm focused, I can block, down back 4, I would say about 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 times. So it is a seeable low. So there's no reason just, kind of to get antsy. From a certain range, it's hard to see. Lei can hit you with down back 4-4 from a deep range, maybe at like range 1.5. And no, you can't see it at that range. It's just so fast. But if he's up close, if they're going to try to get the juggle, it is seeable. So yeah, it's really never a reason to just willy-nilly duck Lei. It's never really a reason.
Gotcha. Now, now that we've discussed the offense, how to get in a little bit, and how you actually just said he's a pressure character. So with that in mind, do you find that most of your damage seems to come from just strings and moves, or do you find that you're actually landing launchers a lot?
It depends on how I feel like playing. My personal play style is not to. I don't like to juggle individuals. In this game, you have to. In tag, you really have to. But in my play style isn't to juggle. I like to hurt someone in the ground. The thing about juggles is it's like almost a shock and awe kind of thing. So you juggle someone and they say, "Oh my God, he's taking damage from me. Let me do something. Let me get more aggressive. Let me do this." But when it comes to Lei kind of like just dwindles down your health. You're like, it kind of just pits and pats, and you don't notice that you're dying. And that stops the "oh my God" feeling from a lot of players, and it stops them from doing crazy things. So I prefer that over, just getting the big juggles. Although he can do it in this game, he can go for the big juggle, but that's just not my style.
Gotcha. Okay, well then let's talk about both of those different play styles then, and then I'll actually start with the sort of poking first, then we can come back to the juggles later. So for your personal play style, you like to tick away the damage, hit the strings, and kind of play that style of game. So let's talk about those pokes a little bit. You talked about Razor Rush and stuff like down four to get in. But aside from that, like what sorts of tools does he have to kind of poke and take those take that stringy damage?
The best tool he has is like I said, just down four, um, down three. He has a lot of annoying things that don't look like they do as much damage as they do, but they're doing significant damage. Down four is good. Rage Rush 2 is good. Um, let's see what else is good. Down four at 4, he has a 12 frame mid kick that's like +7 on hit. I think most down four at 4 is actually like +6 or 7 or 5, 6 or 7 on hit. So yeah, he has a lot of tools for just dwindling someone's health down without actually putting them in the air. Like I said, I use Snake as a defensive stance, so he has Snake 1-2-1 that is like 30 something damage or 40 damage on hit, and it leaves him in a stance. So he has a lot of tools. If I don't want to play a more juggle oriented game.
Gotcha. So when you play, then you find yourself doing sort of that over and over and over again, and just hopefully ticking them to death.
Well, what you basically when I play, I try to look for reaction. So everything I'm doing is built towards making my opponent respond a certain way. So I want my opponent to do something kind of reckless, kind of out of the ordinary, and that's what I'm waiting for. So I want the Kazuya Hell Sweep. I want the pull Death Fist. I want the pull Demo Man. I want the shoulders. That's what you want. You want your opponent to do something to think that it'll even the odds, and you're waiting for that defensively, and that's when you can launch. That's when you can punish and juggle them and basically finish them all. So it's all built so it's kind of like hurting your opponent into a situation that is not advantageous for them.
Gotcha. So it sounds like in that regards, most characters or more conventional characters, I guess, they tend to do small pokes or small frame advantage moves, like maybe a down forward one, like a generic down forward one, to bait into one of those mistakes. But it sounds, based on the way that you just described it, that he's actually doing two things simultaneously. Not only is he playing that bait game, but at the same time he's able to take more damage than most characters because you're doing legitimate pressure poke strings.
Exactly. Most characters too, when they have to play the game, they're forced to go back into a bit of a neutral, and that neutral allows them, the mix-up allows them to down forward two, allows them to backdash, hop kick. Lei is kind of built in, so it's kind of built in the system. So when I catch someone with a Panther 1-2-1, which is a poke, I automatically have frame advantage to get them into a mix-up situation. That's a launcher that's built in the kind of the engine of the character itself. So it's you don't really have to play, oh my god, let me launch this person. You generally, when you're playing Lei, it'll come to you. You'll get your launcher.
Interesting. That sounds like a really scary combination for a character, especially one that just got a damage beef.
Yeah, when it works, in theory, when it works, it's pretty scary. When it doesn't work, then it's like, oh, I should have went for launches all day. But
all right, well, let's. I guess you opened the door there. Let's talk about that a little bit. Then, we haven't really talked a whole lot about any weaknesses that he has. So it sounds like that's one of them. Like, if you run into somebody who knows your bullshit and they know what to do against it, then he struggles a little bit. Is that true, or are there only like specific things that you have to worry about?
It's kind of hard to pinpoint a weakness for Lei in this game. Besides, you step him left. Everything that he didn't have before, he has now. So if someone does, they call what they call shenanigans, what they call, if someone does know Lei's, gimmicks, that's what they use the word gimmicks. Then you can also just throw out launchers, and Lei has 4-4-3, which is still silly. I always hope that the move is nerfed because I personally never really like the move. but it's still a silly move. It's like only negative 14, negative 13. It crushes highs. It has good range, so it's still a good move. So if a person wants to play silly, officially Lei can play silly back in this game. Yeah, and I mean now that in this engine 443 is tag bufferable, Lei is really good for getting red damage in this game. He's really one of the best characters for getting it. So yeah, it's no more like, oh man, I'm put into a corner. It's just a matter of reevaluating and then seeing your options and doing what you got to do.
Yeah, it's it's interesting that you bring up the tag properties of that, because one thing that I've noticed when I watch Lei's play or play against them, 443 seems especially good, not just as a tag launcher, but just as a way to tag out mid juggle. Like most characters, when like you take for instance the Mishimas, just because they proliferate everywhere. The Godfist is praised as being, kind of a one fits all tool, and part of what it's good at doing is being able to hit it and then tag out, and then here comes your second character. But one thing that I noticed about Forward 3 for Lei when you use it in a juggle is that it actually pops them up a little bit.
Yes, yes, it does.
Yeah, so like in electric, it doesn't really pop them up. It just acts as another hit, but they're out pretty quick, so you can usually get a follow up on it. Whereas Lei, it doesn't. He seems like he gives you your second character a little bit more leeway when you bring it in. So it's not just that he can get red damage combos, but almost that he makes his second character better by giving them an easier opportunity to get that lift juggle.
Yes, another reason why he's so prolific now. That's why so many players. I mean, when the game was coming up, when the game was about to come out, Wayne Gamble looked at the properties. I always laugh about it, and he said, "I'm going to pick Lei." That's what's his whole first thing that he said. He was like, "I'm picking Lei," and I laughed because I saw the same thing that he saw. That this character was pretty much going to be kind of silly in this game, and it's true. The 443, it has a kind of a scooping. It kind of scoops. It does like Brian's down back 2 used to do back in the day. I think it still does it. But it has that property. It also, if you end the juggle with it, it kind of automatically puts the opponent in face down, feet towards. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing which is a perfect Oki, positioning. So yeah, it's a really good move with a lot of good situational use. So yeah, it's the reason why Lei is, a good character if you just want a steady partner to complement your own main.
Gotcha. So since we kind of started talking about the juggles a little bit, we might as well just kind of go into that. So you mentioned Forward 3. We've been talking about a little bit. That acts also as a regular launcher if it's the first hit. I know he also has hop kick. You mentioned a couple of other really good launchers he has out of stances.
Panther 2.
Panther 2. Yep, that's the one that I was trying to remember. Now, what are there any other like really good launchers that you have to be aware of, or if you're the Lei player that you should be using?
Panther 2 is probably the main launcher that you should use. It's a 15 frame, -10, tag bufferable, like 20. It does silly damage, like 28 damage launcher. That's only -10, which is just silly. He also has POD, which is play dead. It's done manually by just down 2/3. 4, which is another tag bufferable. It's -12. It's 27 damage launcher. So he has that. He has 443. He has he has I mean, he doesn't even need more, but he has while standing 3+4, which to this day, I mean, I've played Lei players and I cannot punish that move consistently. I'm pretty sure it's like -16, but it's a weird move, has weird properties. He kind of like pushes back, so it's another tag bufferable move that does 17 or 18 damage. So yeah, he has really good stuff. in this game.
Now, every single one of those launchers that you just mentioned, you can tag out of. Now,
Every single one, yeah.
yeah, every single one of them. So, with that in mind, now me personally, I don't play Lei, but if I were, I would always tag out. Like it
Oh
doesn't seem
yeah,
like there's a reason not to. So
there's
I'm
no
guessing that's also the what you would suggest is always to tag buffer those.
yes, always. If you ever see me playing and I don't do it, it's because my fingers didn't do it, and I don't know why. I'll be mad at my fingers. But yeah, there's never a reason not to, tag buffer out with Lei. Um, I happen to play a team that, I can basically tag buffer out with Lei and then do a move with Nina and put him back in, which is even better. I didn't know that when I initially picked the team, but yeah, Lei's filler does a lot of damage. So I would rather him complete the combo just because he does damage. So yeah, you always tag buffer out, try to get him back in if you can. Even if you can't, you're still going to do solid damage, a good amount of red. You can tag yourself for the added damage, but yeah, you always want to tag buffer out.
Now, what is his filler? His tag assault filler?
His filler, the main part of his filler is the 1+2/1 back turn 4/4. That's the main part. How you go about doing that is different with different juggles. So, for instance, is down 4-2, you can do down 4-2, forward 3-1, 1+2/1, back turn 4-4, 4-4-3-4, which gives, I think, his down 4-2 like 81 damage by himself. I mean, most people off of down 4-2 get like 77 max. So he gets 74 and 75 max, I think. So yeah, he gets 81 just by himself with ease.
Now,
So yeah,
now for me, now you just used down 4-2 as an example. But for me, I mean, depending on who you have in the back, of course, but I would probably, I would almost think that doing down forward 2, forward 3, and then tagging out would be your best option, wouldn't it?
well, it would be if you have a character that can. It depends on the situation. I generally always teach this. If I'm playing someone strong character, so I think you're still an Armor King player, right, man?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I'm playing you, I don't know what your secondary is, but if I'm playing you and I'm playing your Armor King, I'm gonna go for a red life juggle on your Armor King. So I'll do down 4-2, 4-4-3, take away as much red health as I can, just because I don't want him to recover.
Mm-hmm.
But for your secondary character, I'm going to do a tag assault. I'm going to try to get as much damage as I can, just to encourage, you to bring out your main when you don't want to, or just to put pressure on your main character. So it's kind of a philosophy as far as what juggle you're going to go for when you're going to go for it. With certain of Lei's launchers though, down 4-2 isn't included because it's not tag bufferable. I'll tend to go for, if it's not tag bufferable, I'll tend to go for the damage. If it's tag bufferable, I'll go for the most high damage red life juggle I can. So it varies and it depends on the situation.
Gotcha. So as the match or the round progression uh, happens and continues, you're very, very much keeping an eye on the life bar and which character is it, what life, and
Yeah,
then making a decision based on that.
yeah. Which character is hurting me more? Who's the person more comfortable with? Uh, yeah. So it's all about that. I remember a player was saying, when you play me, kill my Lei, bring out my Nina, and that's how you'll kill me. It was funny, but I thought about it. I was like, okay, that's a little true. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's how you want to play the game. It's you hurt the person's strongest character, and try to prey on their weakness.
Well, in a sense, I mean that's not new to fighting games because you figure like Marvel, that tends to be a big thing where once you get to the top players and you start seeing them play top 8 or whatever, you usually hear the commentators actually making reference to this where like a certain player comes up and you're like, okay, you got to get rid of that character. If you can't deal with that character, then you're not that the X player, that guy's not going to win. But if he has a
Exactly.
chance, if he gets that character down and is able to take that character out. So I guess yeah, same philosophy, I suppose.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a very team based, any team based game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you want to do. Get rid of the strong character.
So that actually brings up a question that I did want to ask at some point. And I guess this might apply to you more than other players, but you've been a Lei player, for as long as you've been playing Tekken, and
Right.
I know that for the most part, you take a philosophy where, okay, I have this one character. I don't need to know how to play 20. I just need to know how to play this one really, really well. Now that you
Right.
have another character, what obviously, I'm sure you don't have. If I remember correctly, I think you're playing Nina for your second character, but I'm sure that don't have near as much knowledge or experience with her as you do with Lei. So I guess two parts to this question. First, what influenced your decision to pick her, and then second, are you taking the same sort of practice philosophy with her and trying to get that expert level knowledge with her, or are you just kind of using her as a filler and then relying a lot on your Lei?
Okay. For the first question, what got me to when I first started, getting competitive with Tekken, I had I actually had three characters that I liked to play. I called it the Triple C. It was the cop, the cook, and the criminal. So I played Lei, who was a cop. I played Law, who was the cook, and I played Nina, who was a criminal. Now, back then, that was 5.0. I wasn't that good. I was a guy who made up stuff like that. So, so yeah, it was just for fun. But I enjoyed. I always enjoyed Nina. I enjoyed, she's an assassin. Femme Nikita, all that stuff. So I
Mm-hmm.
always enjoyed Nina. But in the back of my mind, I can play her a little. I'm not, I was never like, oh my god, he has such a great Nina, because I focused on Lei. When the game was first announced, I said, rather than play, you know, Lei and Law, which, I didn't think that would be such a cool team. I wanted to go with what I thought would be a cool team, like a cop and a criminal assassin and a cop. That's the only reason. It was no semantics. There was no, theory. It was nothing about based on gameplay when I came up with this decision. So that's why I play Nina. As far as my approach, the second question, I it took me, I would say, a good 3 years to get good with Lei. And when I say good, I mean like uh, I was competitive and I knew what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was competitive after about 2 years. I mean, I could fight you, but it was mostly I didn't know, and I did stuff with Lei that was ill advised, and it worked at times.
Mm-hmm.
But after 3 years, I understood the frames, I understood the way Lei's engine worked. So it took me about 3 years. I'm not a fast learner when it comes to games, so I would say I'm getting there with Nina, but I'm not. My Nina is nowhere near the as efficient as my Lei, as skilled as my Lei. That kind of works to my advantage at times, just because I kind of see Nina differently. So I'll play a Nina, and I play plenty of Ninas that are way superior to me. They're better than me, but I can still beat them because of the way I see the game, just
Mm-hmm.
from a outside view, which sometimes helps. You see things that players that are constantly playing a character, they've already kind of said, no, that move isn't good, or this move is better. I'm going to just use this move, but it gives you a fresh perspective. So that's how I kind of come up with Nina. I'm trying to get better. It's a continual process, but yeah, fingers crossed on that one.
Gotcha. So now, as it pertains to Lei specifically, and I guess this is probably going to be a question more geared towards those who are looking to pick up Lei. You just mentioned that it took you 3 years to really, really understand the Lei as a character and his engine, and how to play him properly. Now, for those who are looking to pick up this character, I guess when it comes to that, considering that you have another character that you have to pick up in order to play this game, at least at tournaments. I guess what would your advice or suggestion be to them? And I know that in the past, at least other characters, you have to practice with every character that you decide to play. And I know when we had oh my god, why am I blanking out? On his name, Kazuya player, Cody.
Cody.
When we had Cody on for the Kazuya podcast, he said, understand when you pick up this character that you're signing up for homework. homework and practice. You have to
Right.
have your movement down, and you have to know that character specific stuff. Now it sounds like Lei is even like that to the nth degree. So like how would you approach a newer player who's looking to pick up this character and like philosophy speak, that sort of perspective? What would you advise to them?
Right. Cody would be the perfect example of that. I mean, Cody, I've known Cody for quite some time, and he really practiced. He put time in, and that's why he's, as great a player as he is now. Um, the one of the things I should have pointed out when I started playing this game, knowledge wasn't as it wasn't out there as much. It wasn't as there wasn't as many sources of knowledge and sources of frame data. There wasn't that many lay players that were experienced in America. We had Tetsuo overseas and other players overseas, but you can't like go to Tetsuo in Japan and say, hey, how do you do this? Or hey, what do you suggest doing that? Now there's quite a few American lay players. You have Suiken in the West. You have Hattori. You have Wayne, who's getting really good with the character. You have other lay players that are really good. So if you see somebody who's good with lay, you can ask them questions. I get asked questions all the time about lay. So I would say, one, use the knowledge that's out there. You got Zaibatu, you have frame data, you have Tekken Chicken. Shout out to my boy off in bed, Nikki, for making that device. I'm selling his device. But yeah, you have ways to get knowledge that weren't readily available when I started playing lay. That's probably why it took me so long. I was also stubborn and stupid. So as long as you're not stubborn, stupid, and you use the knowledge that's out there, you can learn lay in. I don't think it'll take you 3 years unless you're me. But yeah, so it's just a point of, to me, liking the character. You have to. I always say this: like the character you pick, because you're going to get a little discouraged. You're going to lose. Like the character, want to get better, and want to play the game and not just repeat what you're seeing. Want to be innovative. That's one of the things that I learned. We had another late player. Well, he's still around, but Blood Red was so innovative, and I always looked at his innovation from New York City, Blood Red, and I said, okay, he'll do this. I'm going to do this better. So it was like playing a game of horse with another late player, and I think new late players should do that. If you see someone do a juggle, try to do another juggle that does like 2 more points of damage or 10 more points of damage. Always try to top the other player. So if you do that, I'm pretty sure any player who tries to pick up lay would be more than fine.
Gotcha. No, well, that makes a lot of sense, and I think I don't know if you said it explicitly, but I know you at least alluded to it. There's a lot of different ways that you can play this character, so there's a lot of opportunity to be creative and to have your own style with him. So to kind of go back in to the lay discussion and talking about specifics and stuff. I did want to talk a little bit more about this the tag feature of this game, because it's obviously a huge part of the system. Now, you chose a character that you're familiar with in Nina, and that you know a little bit about, so it kind of seemed like a natural pairing for you. But just generally speaking, are there any characters that you think are not good fits with him, or is just the way that he plays, it doesn't matter? Like he's always going to make that second character good, and he's going to be able to mesh well.
I truly believe he's one of those characters that would mesh well with most characters, just because of his properties. He has plenty of easy tag buffable moves. He has 4-4-3 that he can get back out. He has great tag fillers, so you can do. I think he has the third best. It used to be second, but I was told by Renacon that Forest Law also had good fillers. So I guess it would be Nina, Forest Law, and then Lei as far as just tag filler. So you can basically just do a tag buffalo launcher, bring in Lei, do his tag filler, and you have 80 red life, 85 red life. It's silly. So yeah, he works well with characters. You just have to like your characters and sit down and see how he can gel. But I don't believe he's limited depending on what character you pick now.
Gotcha. Now that also actually just the topic of two characters. It does bring up another question that I wanted to ask about, and that's walls and wall carry. Now you mentioned at least for the walls. I know that him on his own, he has some good wall tools. We mentioned what was it? Not snake. The 4-1-2-3. Yeah,
yeah. No, you mean the Dragon String.
Dragon Street. Four.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
wolf.
yeah.
Right.
4-1-2-3. I think it was.
Yeah,
Um,
4-1-2-3 or 4-1-2-4-1-2-3. Right.
and it's a count. Said it's a 10-frame kick that on counter hit gives you a 70. Without rage or anything, gives you a 70 damage juggle, and then if you happen to be near the walls, it's going to be a wall splat for even more damage. So he can get do that good wall damage and splat you against it. It doesn't seem like he has a problem there. And then you mentioned I think you were actually just about to say it again too. Once you get the bound at the wall, then he has the crane string that you can use. Now, if factoring in that second character, first, does he? We talked about using forward 3, and all of his tag or his launchers are tag bufferable. Does he himself have good wall carry, or is it usually he's going to have to tag out and rely on the second character to get them there?
You know what? If there is going to be a weakness about Lei, I would say it's his wall carry, and it's not as much as a weakness as other characters can do it better. So I mean, I'm not going to compare his wall carry with Lee's or Nina's or Eddie's or any of those ridiculously wall carry characters. But it's nowhere near that level. It's probably like low mid as far as like who can get you from here to here. He's no Bruce. So that's one thing. Oh yeah. So if you're gonna pair him up with somebody and you want good wall carry, Lee, Bruce, Nina, those characters might be good choices. To pair him up if you just want wall carry.
Gotcha. So it sounds more like, like you said, if there was going to be a weakness, that would be it. But at the same time, if you have a second character that does good wall carry, done. It's no longer a weakness. He just tags out, and then that's it.
That's one of the beautiful things about the game. I mean, you can take a character who has an obvious weakness. Lei doesn't have any obvious weakness, but you can take a character who has obvious weaknesses and put it with another character and totally change the game just because you paired it with a certain character. So yeah, you can't just say, "Oh, I got this character based on this." No, that's not the case all the time.
Gotcha. Now for him for just the wall damage, does now the crane string you mentioned, you can throw that into tag assaults as well as just using it to finish off. Or I'm sorry, you could throw it into tag assaults regardless of whether he's the one doing the bounding or not. Now, when he hits, let's say that you have lay in, you get the wall splat, and then you bound. Is it almost always more beneficial to do a tag assault, or do you? Do you get enough extra damage from that, or can he do so much damage by himself with that string that he doesn't need to tag?
If you can get a tag assault, generally by the wall, if you can get a tag assault, you probably want to go for it, just because you're in a predicament that your opponent's back is to a wall, you've done a lot of damage, and they can either take your Oki attempt or they can tag crash in. You kind of take away options for them. So I would say always go for the tag assault on the wall. Is just a kind of a philosophy thing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I would go for the tag assault. But Lei does do adequate damage by himself. I mean, yeah, he does. It's not like, yeah. Like I said, I don't have a lot of complaints. I have no complaints about this character. I never do, but really, I mean, it's not just liking the character. It's just seriously, this guy is just really.
So it sounds like he's at least for that situation that as you kind of mentioned it earlier, where you just have to it's all about what you feel is best in that situation, looking at the life bars, deciding whether or not you want the extra damage or you think you're okay, and saving that rage, making sure they don't get that Netsu.
Exactly.
And then, okay, interesting. All right, so another question that I actually wanted to ask you about, because you brought it up briefly earlier, was his tracking. Now, you said that he doesn't have any obvious weaknesses, but you mentioned sidestepping left. I'm not sure if I can't remember how exactly you said it, so I don't know if it's his left that's weak or if it's right that weak and you sidestep.
Well, I guess it would be his right. You go left. Whenever I say left or right, I mean what where you should go.
Okay.
So you should go left whenever you're playing Lei. So if you're playing Lei, go left. Lei is going to whiff like a blind orphan. So I don't know if blind orphans whiff a lot, but if you're blind, you're orphan. I don't know, but yeah, he's going to whiff if you go left, most likely.
Okay. So now, it's you mentioned earlier or not too long ago that he doesn't have any obvious weaknesses. So I take it that his weakness to that side isn't like glaring, like or
Well, here's the thing. I don't consider stepping a character a weakness because everyone in Tekken can be stepped. That's one thing. If you play the Koreans, you kind of see that. It's kind of like one of the most like, oh my god, this is stupid. But yeah, every character can be stepped. You just have to be attentive to that and kind of change your game accordingly. So I wouldn't count that as like a huge weakness. I'm not saying it's like he just can only go in a straight line. You can, adapt and kind of avoid getting stepped as long as you're playing smart and know what you're doing.
Gotcha. So then, I guess I'll let me follow up by asking, what are his options? What are his does he have like any really good homing moves, or if you see somebody who's trying to take advantage of that, what are you usually doing?
Okay, that's a good question. He does have a pretty cool homing move. It's a pretty slow, but it has kind of a weird. He kind of steps a little to the left, so it's an interesting move. He has down forward three, which is his homing move.
Mm-hmm.
He has that. He also has standing three, which if someone is going to your left will hit them. He has down forward one, uh, and he has, like I said, my favorite move, beating rush, which is four neutral two. You have to whiff or hit on the two, 1-2, which is another tracking string. So yeah, he has the tools. If you see someone is trying to take advantage of stepping, you can hurt them for it.
Gotcha.
Except if they're Korean. If they're Korean, they're going to step you anyway.
Yeah,
So.
there's nothing you can do about it. Just hope that they mistime it.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Uh, all right, interesting. So, one thing that we haven't really discussed too much, his grab game. Uh, so I know. Let's see here. The one grab I know has always been traditionally the goofy one, but I think if I remember correctly, it still leaves you at a pretty good running game. I mean, you can choose to opt out of the run, of course, but
Yeah. The one throw, and I just found this out about 2 months ago. The one throw is particularly good because, like you said, he jumps off of you, and you give a good running mix up. You have unblockable tackle if they don't hold forward. Um, you can also tag buffer it. It's tag bufferable, so you can do the run throw, press tag, and it'll bring in the character, for a decent Oki situation. And lastly, it balcony breaks. So if your opponent back is to the wall and you do the one throw, you're going to hit them off the balcony and give your partner a free red light juggle. So that's another good thing about the one throw. So his throw game is decent. I wouldn't even say decent. It's pretty good in this game with that buff. That's a good buff. Yeah.
well, with the aside from the one grab which you just talked about, so just kind of refresh my memory a little bit because aside from attack throws, I think he just has the one throw, standard two throw, and then forward 1+2, right?
No, he has actually he has I think six throws altogether. He has the one throw, the two throw, the forward 1+2 throw, the up forward 1+2 throw. He has a throw in Dragon, which is Dragon 1, and he has a throw in Drunken as well, which is Drunken 1+3 or 2+4.
Interesting. Okay, so let's talk about just his non-stance throws here real quick. So the two throw, it looks like they can get up pretty quick after that. Is there any real okie to that?
Well, yeah, they can get up quick, but you get either a free down four, or if they're blocking your down four, you get a free launch. So, I mean, the smart thing to do is just to eat the down four after that. Lei recovers before the opponent.
Gotcha. Now the goofy one out of the ones that you just mentioned is probably going to be the up forward 1+2 because he recovers on the ground as well. Now what are your options from there? What do you usually do?
Um, Usually after which is great. It's a great Oki throw. Realist taught me this when I first started playing Tekken, and it's you can either do the up forward 1+2 throw, and you can tap up, kind of up neutral, and you'll get a free while standing 3, depending on how they get up. So if they don't get up properly, you get a free while standing 3. Um, if they do get up properly, and you hold down, you can do down 3, which basically gives you a free juggle. It gives kind of the knockdown kind of low kick that you can get a free juggle with. So that's the Oki on that throw. You can also, I was later, just stand up and throw them again because of the weird recovery thing after it. So yeah, it's a few options that you can mess around with when it comes to that throw.
Gotcha. Nice. Now with the other one that we haven't mentioned just from regular standing would be the forward 1+2. Now I think that leaves you in almost the same situation as the 2 throw, right? So I would presume
it's kind of a different situation.
Okay.
The 4-4 1+2 throw, if they get up, I basically, when I do the 4-4 1+2 throw, as soon as I land it, I count the 2. And when the 2 goes, so as soon as you land, as soon as it connects, say 1, 2. And if you press forward 3 while they're trying to get up, you get a back turn launcher. So nice. You do forward 3, forward 3, 1, 2. That'll all hit in the back. You say 1, 2. Now, the right thing to do is just to, kind of roll, then get up, and it's not the same thing. But if they tap up, you do the 2 count that I just mentioned, you get a free launcher for just a sad amount of damage.
Oh yeah, I'd imagine. I mean, it looks like the equivalent of what you would get if you hit Law's junkyard in the back.
Yeah, I think even probably more.
60 damage before you even start doing juggle damage.
Yeah, so, it's really good.
Interesting. All right, so I guess let's talk about the stance throws then. First, okay, so Panther 1 kind of looks like he just throws them away.
Dragon 1, yeah.
Or Dragon 1, sorry.
Yeah, Dragon 1, he throws them away. The Oki situation on this is interesting. Generally, I'll let them go, but you can also kind of dash up and just do down forward 1+2. Now, in this game, down forward 1+2 doesn't give you frames. It's like 0 on block or something, or it's not the same. What's better? But, ignorance. If they don't know that, then you gotta, you can get a decent mix-up, a decent pressure game. So yeah, it's not a lot of use on the wall. You get a free, down 4, a free while standing 3. But otherwise, you're right. Dragon, just let them go most of the time.
Gotcha. And then the only other one that we haven't talked about yet would be the drunken. I can't remember what you said it was. Forward 1+2.
No, just drunken 2+4 or 1+3. He kind of does well. If you're at a range, he'll do 2 throw attempts. If you're close by, he'll just do 1. But it's drunken, so 4, 3+4, 1+3, or 2+4, and he does the whole drunken master walk. Cool thing about this throw is it's always been that if you do it on a wall, you get a free while standing 3. Mm-hmm. Back in the old days, you always got a while standing 3, but they changed that because that was stupid, kind of cheap. In this game, if you do the throw just in open space, mm-hmm. and your opponent tries to get up or roll back, with Lei, you can get a 4-4-3. And you can tag buffer out. Lei can, you can get a juggle. You do basically 4-4-3, down 1, 4-4, and you'll get a juggle. But generally, what I would do is I would do the throw down, do 4-4-3, tag buffer into Nina, and get some red health. So it's still a good throw as far as Oki is concerned. It's just, you have to know when to do it and what your opponent knows.
Gotcha. All right, and then that's it, right? Then we covered all the grabs.
We covered all. Yeah, that's all the grabs like from standing. I mean, the side throws and all that stuff, but we covered all the throws from standing. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm going over my list of topics here. I think for the most part, we've covered everything that I had questions about. One thing I was going to ask, just real quick, Hopkick is everyone's go-to panic move. Does he have any other special panic moves, like things where that naturally built-in evasion, or crush stuff, or anything like that that can be useful?
Okay, let me just be the first one to say I hate Hopkick. Let that be known. I despise Hopkick. I think Hopkick is stupid. I've never liked it. Saying that, Lei does have kind of a specialized Hopkick, which is up forward three. Up forward three is an instant low crush. It only launches on counter hit, so it only launches when it's supposed to work. It's a 16 frame kick, gives a 30 damage launcher. It does everything that a Hopkick does, only better, and it's safe. So that's my kind of move. If it's safe, I'm going to do it. I don't like being unsafe.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so Lei has that as a panic button move. Another thing about Lei is I don't think other characters are like this, but his down forward two actually has more range than his hop kick. So a lot of things as far as punishing is concerned, uh, it would be better to use a down forward two rather than it is to do a hop kick, because you just might whiff his hop kick. Although they gave it more range in this game than it had in six, it still doesn't have the range that his down forward two has. So as far as panic button moves, if you're in a situation up forward three, you need a lot of damage and you have nothing to lose, just do up forward three. That's kind of the best panic button move he has. And Razor Rush. Always do Razor.
Always do Razor Rush.
Always do Razor Rush.
Now the reverse situation, then I would presume that if you need a high crush, probably down back four.
Down back four is good. I'll New York say it says when I'm in danger, I start just doing down back four because I'm scared. But the truth is, if you can instant back turn down one is his best high crush. So it's significantly safer. It's only like -12. It gives a stronger juggle than actually down back four, and it's an instant high crush, and it has evasive properties because you're basically on back turn, so you can dodge mids, highs, and that's the best thing new players should try to practice. Just do an instant back turn down one.
Gotcha. Well, man, I think we've covered most everything. I think.
Awesome.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I mean, I'm running through my list here. We've pretty much covered everything that I usually ask or had questions about. So I think that's all that I have. So with that being said, to kind of wrap up the Lei discussion, was there anything first? Was there anything that we didn't talk about that you think should deserves an honorable mention, or something that you think is important for this character?
Let's see. Oh, Lei has a cool taunt. 2 plus 3 plus 4. That's it. Okay, just Lei's 2 plus 3 plus 4 is a really cool taunt. That's about it as far as Lei. But yeah, that's it. I think we covered everything.
Gotcha. So kind of to finalize the conversation on this character. Now you said a couple times throughout the podcast that he doesn't have any glaring weaknesses, and it sounds like he's gotten a lot of buffs from T6. So, well, I mean, where do you put this character? I haven't really heard a lot of people say that he's top tier, but based on what we've just discussed, it kind of sounds like he has the material. He has everything that he needs to be a top tier character. So, like, what are your views on that? Like, how do you see him in relation to the rest of the cast and in this game?
It's kind of like in the Land of the Gods, Hercules isn't that special. So Mishimas are like gods. Nina, Fang, and other characters are better than Lei. But I would definitely put Lei in top tier mid. He's definitely at the top of the mid. And most tier lists agree with me. He's definitely in the top of the pack when it comes to mids. I think as the game has been out for about a year, but later maybe a player will pick him up that's better than me, and they'll truly show just how good of a character he is. But he's a significantly good character.
Gotcha. So with that being said, then based on some of the big weaknesses that he's had in the past, damage being one of them. It sounds like a lot of stuff that lay players have bitched about for a while now they fixed. So are you in that perfect zone? Are you perfectly happy with how he is now?
I am, first of all, I've always been kind of a very wait for Namco kind of person. So
Hmm.
I always just, I play the cards as dealt me. So I've never felt Lei was like, oh my God, unplayable, except 5.0. But he was playable in 5.0. You just were going to play to lose. Um, so
You
if you
could
can
pick
play
him
him,
on the character select screen, but that was about it. Most you're
that's about
gonna
it.
do.
Yeah, you were playing to lose. But yeah, I think he's really good. A few aesthetic changes. I would love a crouch throw, but that's just me being a fanboy. But yeah, as far as like competition is concerned, he has everything he needs to win.
Nice.
He has
And
everything.
just kind of as a general comment on Tekken and Namco. Traditionally, with the exception of maybe one game, one or two versions of Tekken, the Mishimas are top tier, which makes sense. They're the uh, storybook wise, they're the cover children for this game. So that makes sense that Namco would want them to be good characters. But it seems like Namco, for the most part, is pretty good, with the exception of a couple characters, about giving each character their day in the sun. And I know that this actually isn't the first time that Lei has been really good. I know we talked about it in um, the T6 podcast, how in the first version 6.0 that he was really good. Um, so
Wait. Let me just say one thing. He wasn't really good in 6.0. He was idiotic in
so
6.0.
is broken. He's goddamn
Yeah,
gamer.
he was broken. He was, send back to China, commission, make a late commission on why is he so good at 6.0 broken.
Yeah. So
Kind of
it
a
seems like Namco's pretty good about giving each character their turn. And even if they're not number one, they're pretty good at listening and making characters better or worse depending on the situation. So I'm sure that lay players everywhere are happy with how he is. He's not busted, but he has a lot of tools that you can use. To make it entertaining and to keep you competitive as a player while you're playing. So I don't know. He seems pretty good. As we've talked about a few times, he's getting picked up. Just because of the changes that have been made to him as a character and with the tag engine. A lot more people seem to be playing him and liking him now,
yeah,
which is
like
always a good thing
yeah.
to get exposure for a character. So with that, I think that's a really good conversation for Lei. So we'll just kind of go into the little final segment here. Now, I know you're a pretty chill guy. You're pretty calm and collected, and you don't get very mad much. I can't, for the life of me, remember what it was that you ranted about for the T6 one, but I'm going to make you do it again. I want to know what makes the Exalted the most well-dressed player out there in the biz. And if you say something like your custom tailor didn't do it right last time, that's cool. We'll accept that as a rant. So but give us something that makes you angry, that's been bugging you and you just want to yell about it.
I have it's an interesting thing too, because I've been talking about this game for the past hour or so,
Mhm.
but the biggest thing that really gets under my skin lately is this game. Uh, Tag is I always joke and say Tag is like a really bad girlfriend. It cheats on you, it betrays you, and then it comes back and says I love you, and you're like, oh, I love you too. So yeah, this game can like totally abandon you in a second competitively. I've been winning rounds, I've been winning tournament matches, and then all of a sudden I'm dead. I've never played a Tekken that so quickly just fell out of my favor in competitively. So yeah, this game can really just make me just want to strangle pixels, and it really I don't rage like you said. I'm a pretty calm and collected. I'm a very cerebral person, but yeah, this game is like sometimes like why did that hit, or how did I get hit with an electric from like range 3, or how did that person land a perfect juggle that landed me on a wall in a wall of stage? So it It's like that. And maybe it's I'm from New York and I play Fab, GM, Bloodhawk, these guys in the game. So maybe that's why this is happening to me. But yeah, this game can sometimes just make me just totally want to, hunt kittens. So yeah,
No,
that's my rant.
I actually completely feel for you because I'm in the same boat. For the most part, I don't play this game nearly as much as I probably should, considering that I host a podcast for it. But it's one of those things where we mentioned this last episode with GM. I actually personally enjoyed T6 far more than I do Tag 2. And yeah, this game for whatever reason just doesn't feel very fun for me. And so I've kind of, and I can't pinpoint it. There's like a few things I think factor into it, and it's kind of hard. Like you said, it's just one of those things that at one moment you're like really happy with it. You're on cloud nine, then all of a sudden, like you're in the gutter. You owe 10 loan sharks money, and it's
Yeah,
just ridiculous. But it's one of those things where for whatever reason, there's a combination of things that I am just not as good at this game as I was in past Tekkens, and who knows what it is. Maybe I'm getting older. Maybe it's just system changes. Who knows what it is? But I kind of several months ago I came to the realization that, or not several because the game hasn't been out for us that long, but a few months ago came to the realization where okay, I just don't get it. I don't understand the system. Something isn't meshing well. I need to relax and just understand that I'm not going to be good at it, and just
it happens.
just take it.
Someone told me the same thing. I'm getting older, or it just happens. But I love the game. I love Tekken. I'm a big fan of Tekken. Like I told you, I picked Nina just because I like how cool Nina is.
Mm.
So I'm a fanboy when it comes to Tekken. I happen to be decent competitively. But yeah, this game is like, I just want to punch it in the face sometimes. but
Yeah, I feel well, kind of like what GM said. Because I just mentioned I said on that podcast that I enjoyed T6 more than I do this game, and he was like, yeah, I do too. And he's like, but it's Tekken. Dude, it's what we got. It's Tekken. You got to play it. So it's you're kind of forced into that situation where you got to.
this is from GM. That's
Yeah.
the wise words of GM.
Yeah, the wise words of GM, yes. Which, by the way, congrats to him because I know he just won Toryuken
Yes, he did.
up in Canada. So, awesome for him. I think it was his first time to Canada, actually. So
Was it?
I think so. I think that's what he said, but I can't remember 100%. But in any case, it's a good win. It's a major, so can't complain about that. But other than that, that's a good rant. Keep it Tekken related. Other than that, I think that's all I got, man. So I do usually, aside from just little crappy announcements and updates, I like to give my guests the last word. So if you have any shout outs or if there's anything that you want to get out there, promo stuff, whatever, anything that you want to talk about that we haven't, the mic is yours. Go ahead.
We covered everything. Shout outs to New York Tekken, Team Random, uh, everyone who I've met in the community. Tennessee crew. That's my home away from home. My second, my second, uh, my second home. Tekken Chicken off in bed. That's my boy. He made a great app. Go out there and download it. It's great. It has frame data. It has like this cool Kazuya that's a chicken as an icon, which is awesome. Yeah, so New York Tech and Team Random. That's about it. That's it for me.
Gotcha. So I don't really have much more to add then to that. I as a normal for all our listeners, I don't know who the next character will be. It's just kind of whoever's available at the time, and if there's a particular character that everyone's just kind of freaking out about, some usually I'll try to do that and get somebody on for that character. I'm hoping to have the next episode out here in a couple of weeks, which would be somewhere around the 20th. UFGT is the weekend after that, so if I don't manage to get it during that weekend, the weekend of the 20th, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it the following week. So don't be surprised if it's a little while until the next episode. But we'll get it done. We're slowly making our way here through the character list. So don't worry, don't freak out if we haven't done your character. Like for the T6, even when it was dying and dead and everybody was on to tag 2, I still finished out that character list. So we'll get to it
You
eventually, I
did.
promise.
Shout
So
out for that.
yeah, shout out to getting every single character their little moment. So that's all I got. Again, thank you, Exalted, for coming on to the podcast again and chatting some Lei and spreading the knowledge. And then, of course, thank you, everyone out there supporting and listening. When I was going to ask real quick, when can we see you again? When can we expect you to hit up some streams or some big time events? If people want
I
your
should be
autographs.
at ECT. I should be at ECT. That's what I'm aiming for. So yeah, I'll be at ECT. I'll try to, I'll do my best to represent in that tournament. And after that, I'm not sure, but I'm sure I'll be around for sure.
What's the date for ECT?
ECT is this month. I believe it's like not this week, but in 2 weeks. I believe it's in 2 weeks.
Gotcha.
Like the
Because I knew
23rd.
it was coming up soon, but I wasn't 100% sure when. So I'm guessing then that it's probably going to be the weekend of the 17th. So you have ECT followed by UFGT, and then I know you have CEO that's coming up here pretty soon. I think that's next month. So yeah, we're in the thick of things, people. We're getting lots of competitions out there, lots of streams that you can watch and check out the top players, and then of course Evo. Evo is right around the corner. We are not
right around the corner,
not far from that at all. So get your shit together and buy some tickets and head out to that and enjoy all these big tournaments that people are bringing to you. So with that, thank you again, Exalted, for coming on. Thank you everyone for
Thanks
listening.
for having me. Thanks for having me.
And if you have any questions out there, people, feel free to post up. I'm pretty good at getting back to people. Send me a message if necessary. But aside from that, we humbly thank you for tuning in. We hope we didn't make you dumber. And with that, enjoy your Tekken sessions, and we will catch you guys next time. Later.
Later.